Hello and welcome to part 2 of this video tutorial. If you have been following along, you should have the initial outline set up and ready to start adding color and blend effects. For this section, I will be using the paint bucket tool to fill bounded areas, the gradient, and also the selection tool. Selecting the closed path, which I created before, I will be making a duplicate copy. To add a fill color to a stroke, you cannot have any special effects, so I'm just going to go ahead and remove that, and you can see already it has taken the default fill color at the bottom. I'm going to go ahead and change that to something else right now. As you can see, it has covered up a large portion of the details, and for that you can move it up and down in the layer by selecting Object, Raise or Lower, or even Raise to Top or Raise to Bottom. For now, I'm just going to move it down along using the short key of Page Down so you can see where it is being affected. For this line here, it is currently over top of the color, so I'm just going to move that down below the fill, and we have a basic solid color fill effect using an existing closed path from before. I'm going to repeat the process for this object here. This one is an open path, so it is going to have a section which is going to be left open at the top there. And I'm just going to select a nice navy blue color for that one now. So now I have a nice fill color for a closed path and an open path. You can also use the paint bucket tool to find the best selection based on your outlines. And for that, you would just click in one of the open areas, and you can see the effect that it has taken immediately. Now it's taking a stroke effect, which I do not want, which is that black borderline. So to remove a stroke effect, all you would have to do is to shift click or manually select no color for that. And you can always adjust the colors to something lighter or darker. I'm going to repeat the process for I'm going to actually deselect this object for now so that it doesn't interfere, and repeat it for the section in the blade. This one will actually need to be modified slightly just so that it fills the area a little bit better, and again just page down to move it below the layer. You could play around with this to get the best effect, but you can see right now how you can adjust the sizing just to look more visually appealing. Gradients are a little bit different, but the easiest way you could do this is to select the Create and Gradients and Edit Gradients tool, and where you have an existing solid color, you can select it, and you would simply drag for how you would want it to appear. Now, the solid color will be in the center, and it will become transparent towards the end. I want to leave it that way for now, but you can change it however you need to, which I will show here in this knife section. I'm using right now a radial pattern, but you could also do a linear pattern as well, where it's just going top down. And for this, to change the colors of your gradients, you would select one of the points. You could select each one of these nodes individually, and here you would select the color you want to be using. So for here, I will want a gray color, and already you can see it already lost its transparency a little bit. And for the inside, something darker so you can see the difference. You have a dark transition between essentially white and a black color scheme. I'm going to make that a little bit lighter now. I've also prepared an additional layer for the details, which are transposed on top of my existing path. For this, I'm just going to go ahead and click here and adjust the opacity so the details are more visible. You can adjust the opacity for pretty much everything in Inkscape. Say, for example, I would want to select this path here. You alt-click it. If for some reason there's a layer on top, sometimes it helps you to select it. And you can adjust the opacity. So again, for the gradients, you could always just click and drag these for the best effects. And for highlights, you can actually draw a simple Bezier curve, adjust the stroke style, and create a blur so that's the stroke width I'm changing there. Adding a little bit of a blur. For this, you would want to change the opacity. And similarly, you could repeat the process with a white line as well. I've actually completed this previously to show you how I would combine these techniques for the final result, and just show you here where I might take this. Here you would see where I did a blur for a black highlight. There's a slight white highlight on the bottom here, and just some additional fill colors to the bolts. I will provide a link maybe to the starting points for these projects if you want to follow along, and I hope you enjoyed this tutorial.